Alright, hello everyone. I'm Steven, the president of ICC, and as Valentine's Day just passed, I'm going to be doing a lecture on St. Valentine's Day. Because it's super crazy, actually, but pretty fun. Alright, next slide. So, what do you guys think Valentine's Day is? I know it just passed. Did any of you do anything to celebrate? What did Valentine's Day mean to you?
Valentine's Day means to me, boys buying me chocolate.
That's true, that's true. Anyone else? What did you guys do on Valentine's Day? Anything?
Love Day.
Love Day? A day to share your love? That's pretty good. I mean, oh yeah, click. Just one click. Yeah. Good animations, right? Lots of things associated with Valentine's Day. We got some cupids, we got some Catholic saint, we got some hearts. This is dissolving. That's always sad. Alright, and then, okay, so all those things are right about Valentine's Day. So I got this cute little guy who's going to give us a quick recap on Valentine's Day. A quick 2-minute video. Because they worked hard on this video, so I was like, let's show it off.
There's no doubt about it. Valentine's Day is one of America's most popular holidays. More than 62% of Americans celebrate by sending greeting cards and flowers, giving candy or other gifts, enjoying romantic dinners, or all three. But the history behind Valentine's Day turns out to be somewhat surprising. For example, the roots of Valentine's Day go all the way back to a raucous ancient Roman fertility festival held in mid-February called Lupercalia. Later, the Christian Church chose mid-February for St. Valentine's Day in order to Christianize the celebration. But who was St. Valentine? Not much is known about the holiday's namesake. First of all, there was more than just one Christian cleric named Valentine. One of them was sentenced to death for performing marriage ceremonies in secret after Emperor Claudius II banned marriage for young Roman men, thinking single men made better soldiers. Pope Gelasius declared February 14 as a date for honoring the soft-hearted Valentine at the end of the 5th century. It wasn't until the 1300s, though, that the holiday became definitively associated with love and romance. Back then, people believed that February 14th was also the beginning of birds' mating season. The first written Valentine greetings appeared in the 15th century, and by the 17th century, people in Great Britain had begun a tradition of exchanging Valentine's Day cards or letters. Valentine's Day soon caught on in the US as well. The first mass-produced holiday cards emerged in the 1840s, and Valentine's Day soon exploded into a major consumer holiday. Today, an estimated 1 billion Valentine cards are sent each year, more than on any other holiday except for Christmas. More than 35 million heart-shaped boxes of chocolate are sold, and more than 220 million roses are produced for the holiday in a typical year. Altogether, Americans spend almost $20 billion on Valentine's Day, or an average of some $130 per person per year. While the most popular gifts were candy and flowers, nearly 20% of Americans splurge on jewelry, shelling out as much as $4 billion annually. And those who prefer the ultimate romantic gesture are definitely not alone. A recent survey revealed that as many as 6 million couples are likely to get engaged on February 14th, continuing a long romantic history that we bet you didn't know.
So that was a really quick recap, so I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail. As I said, so Valentine's Day, it started as even pre-Roman, a pagan holiday in the European area for purification and fertility purposes, which then led to boys giving girls chocolates and love and jewelry and things like that. For the same end, I guess. Different meanings though. Alright, so Lupercalia is the holiday that did originate. Lupercalia technically started with the founding of Rome, which is in 753 BC, which is when, I mean, it's technically when the Romulus and Remus suckled from the she-wolf, so that's the start of Rome. So before Christ, Lupercalia, they say this event probably came from the Greeks because they did precede the Romans, and it was probably a festival celebrating Pan, who the Romans called Faunus. which we all, the panpipes, we know him. So this normal pagan forest ritual turned Roman into something that it's actually in February and it's kind of a little bit of a debaucherous event where there's lots of drinking and feasting and men naked running around, sacrifice, because February for them is the end of the year. Their new year starts in March. So as the new year for the Romans are coming, they're going through this festival. The first part of Lupercalia is the priests go to the cave where Mars raped the Vestal Virgin, which gave birth to Romulus and Remus. They go to that cave and they sacrifice a goat and a dog, and then they smear the blood onto the men's heads. And then the feast proceeds, they have a good time, they eat, drink, be merry, and then afterward, they take the hides from the sacrificed goat and dog, and then the men run around Palatine Hill, which is where like the Vatican is now today. They run around and they slap the women with the hides. And there's like the picture, it's just like that. And I mean, it wasn't like they were forcing it, it was all fun. It was almost like, I was reading it, they described it almost as like the first Roman theater, even before like they were doing acting and stuff like that, because it almost was a performance. And as time went on, and the different rulers of Rome had their hands in controlling what the festival could and couldn't be. Like at one point, only bearded men could run around and be the actors whipping the women. And then obviously, as time went on, modesty became more popular, so they started wearing loincloths, etc. And then eventually, let's see, in the 4th century after death, in like the 490s, as we progress further into Italian and Roman history, we now have the Catholics in charge, the popes, and they obviously, this is not settling right with them. This is not very, Catholic, so I just want to make sure I have everything on Lupercalia. But it's a pretty fun, it sounds pretty exciting. So there's not like a direct link between Lupercalia and Valentine's Day. It's just like, this is their purification and fertility festival for the end of the year. And then so as we progress, the Catholic Church is like, okay, what do we do now? We have these people still participating in this pagan ritual. We don't really like it. 200 years ago, Pope Julius, so this is in 490, the St. Valentine, so go to the next slide. Now we're talking about St. Valentine. So now how do we get from the pagan festival to having it be a day to honor these martyrs? So in about 290 AD, the ruler, what's his name? Emperor Claudius. As the video said, actually, there's 2 different Valentines. One, at the time, marriage was banned, so the Roman soldiers could be more focused on winning different conquests. So Valentine was performing secret marriages for these soldiers, for which he was killed for. And then the other one was, he was a guy who was helping Christians at the time and helping save them, which the Romans did not like. So he was put in jail, and then the daughter of the jail guard, he had secret correspondence with, and he signed on his letters, "Your Valentine." So that's almost the start of the exchanging of letters, tradition. So those are the 2 Valentine's Day. So how it connects is obviously in order to get people to be more happy with the church's decisions, they're like, okay, we're gonna place St. Valentine's Day. These guys were killed on the 14th. This pagan ritual happens early February. We're gonna say no more Lupercalia. We're celebrating St. Valentine's Day, and it wasn't even called St. Valentine's Day at the day. It was a purification feast centered around these different saints. Which, fun fact, St. Valentine is no longer canonized by the Catholic Church. So I forget when in the 1900s, I think, they said he wasn't really too real, so they got rid of him. But certain people still do it. Okay, and then also as the video said, so even after that happened in 490 AD, the exchanging of love letters and things like that as we associate with Valentine's Day didn't really catch on until like 1300s, when, if you guys know Shakespeare's Julius Caesar play, the setting of that is actually the Lupercalia Festival, so that popularized it. And then Chaucer in 1300, he wrote, it's the first written account relating like love and Valentine's Day, but he just actually mentioned it being when the birds start mating. But back in the day, I guess that made them blush. So next picture, that's Chaucer. I'm writing a little description. Okay, click. All right. And then obviously we move forward in time. 1300s. In England, it's popular to write these handwritten cards to send them to people. You can just keep looking. And then the evolution. We pick up the idea. Cupid gets involved because he's associated with Rome and Roman culture. Well, actually Greek culture, but then the Romans made him cute, so then the English were like, we like the cute Roman version. There's some sources. Don't get it twisted. This was not all from me. I did get it from sources. And thank you for listening.
Archaeology is the excavation of artifacts that have remained from past cultures. Specifically, Roman archaeology is about the Romans. So, there are different ways to conserve and preserve archaeology, and so we will explore these methods in archaeological context. This is the Roman Empire. Oh, this bad boy. Britain is all the way up here, the most northern part of their exterior. So we'll see how the Romans were able to affect northern landscape. Did you know Britain actually gets their name from the Romans? The Romans had a thing of naming their places and got rid of their previous native name and named them Britannia, as we call it Britain today. Now this map is from 1900 to 2000, and you can see the exponential growth that happened. So just imagine tiny little Roman Britain from 40 AD. There were walls around Roman Britain, and this is a section of the wall that survives today. There is a sign here, and this map shows the area that it was encompassing. Within Rome and London, there were a bunch of different Roman features, such as the amphitheater. It is actually underneath an art gallery today. But a very common trait in archaeology, when you can't preserve a site on land or can't reconstruct it, they'll have a line going around the site. So that blue line on the ground actually shows where the amphitheater is underneath. There. Today, they have digital archaeology, so if they don't want to build reconstruction, they can actually digitize it, so without disturbing the land that's underneath. One amazing preserved example of Roman archaeology is the city of Bath. The Romans made this city, and they were known for their bathing techniques, and thus the city was named Bath. This giant thing is just the surface of the museum. This building to the side, the left, is where it goes underground and it shows you all the different components. So you start off on the top here and you walk all the way around, and then you go underneath here, and inside there are a bunch of little tunnels, hallways you can explore. Up here there are Roman statues, and the next slide includes me with a selfie. While exploring inside,
So back to the last slide.
yes.
They don't get in that water, right?
Okay, so this beautiful color means you should not touch it.
Okay.
Over the past 1,000, 2,000 years, it has metal ties, it's a bunch of iron and poisonous materials. They were very stern. Don't touch the water. So I didn't touch the water. My friend touched the water, but she didn't. There you can see most of where the water comes from. There's a bunch of underneath tunnels and stuff. It goes all over the place inside. So there are a bunch of Roman baths all over Britain. That sign tells you a little bit about them. But here is a way you can date the bath. This one is from 70 AD because there's an inscription saying this was built in the 7th year of Emperor Vespasian, and we know when Vespasian came into power, and so we can count to 7, and we know it's in 76 AD. So here are some of the rooms in there. There's the changing room. This is the war room. There are a bunch of sections. They went through a whole big process to go through bathing. So they changed in one room. They got warm in one room. They got slightly warmer in a different room until they finally got in the pool, and then they got out, and then they dried, and then they went on aqueducts. Unfortunately, the Roman aqueducts don't survive to today's period, so this one is actually from the 19th century, but it's such a popular and important aqueduct that it is one of Britain's World Heritage Sites. So, a very fancy aqueduct, which is for water. Aqua means water. I went to the city of Manchester, and as I was walking through the city, there were a bunch of signs from the city giving up maps and little fun facts and stuff, and there were Roman forts on the map, and I was like, that's really cool. And so I told my friend that I was staying with, you want to go see the Roman forts? And she was like, what? She'd been there 4 months and she didn't hear about the Roman forts, and that made me sad. So I took her to the fort, and we learned all about how Manchester started out as a Roman fort. The country has Rome to thank for this city. And there's a little map of it. And this fort, this gate, they reconstructed to show you what it looks like. There's me in front of it. But this is just a reconstruction of what it would have been. It's actually right next to the train. So the train takes you out of Manchester and through London, or England.
Did you dye your hair like mid-trip?
This was winter break. I went to London during the summer. The north gate is up there, and this is part of the city. So the city inside the gate, they found remains of it. And so I think these were 2 houses. There was a fire pit in these back rooms, and the family somehow lived in that small room. What's this? Hadrian's Wall. So England is the most northern point of the Roman Empire. So it was Emperor Hadrian in 132 AD decided he was going to make a line saying this is as far as the Roman Empire goes. And so he built this extremely extravagant wall. It goes 75 miles. Every 5 miles there's a big little house camp thing, and every mile there are little storehouses. And so, oh, fun fact, this is in the movie Robin Hood with Kevin Costner. That scene, my friend and I didn't know that when we went there. We were like, we found this really pretty tree, and someone was like, yeah, that was in the movie. And we were like, what movie? I was in the same spot as Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman loved these walls. Amazing. Okay. There's a little tiny storehouse. They kept extra supplies of food and fire, so that when it was really cold, the soldiers could go warm themselves up. This was a bigger castle for them where they could sleep and tell fun stories. Here, the 5 miles, this is a really big Roman fort. It's called Housesteads, and it was huge. It encompassed that whole thing, which is huge. I forgot the amount it was, or how many square feet. Here, they had a bunch going on in this area. They had sleeping quarters, they had captain's quarters, they had stables for horses, they had latrines. It was a lot to comprehend. So these are the outlines of all the buildings. There's a couple of roads and sidewalks. Very impressive. This is to show that the fort is actually on a hill. So like the wall, it goes up and down with the mountain's movement. So it's very interesting architecturally how they were able to do all this without modern conveniences. I have a bunch of pictures, so let me just go through them. I don't have any of the signs, so I don't know what's what anymore, but look at how steep that hill is. One of the reasons they built on hills, their forts, their big forts anyway, was so that they could see invasions coming in, so they were on the higher ground.